Hello and welcome to this week's video, and we're on the third commandment, and I'm going to read it to you. And it says this: you must not misuse the name of the Lord your God. The Lord will not let you go unpunished if you misuse his name. What's all that about? Let's find out. Okay, what is all this about? I suppose most of us could look at the third commandment and say, I've got this sussed. This is about not blaspheming, not using God's name as a swear word. I don't do that. I've got the third commandment sorted, job done. I'm going to suggest it's not quite that simple. Most of us won't be surprised to know that the Bible talks about us really being careful with our language. We're not supposed to swear, we're not supposed to be rude in our comments and in the things that we say to other people. There's a really great verse in Ephesians 4, verse 29. I'm going to read it from the Message because I really like the way the Message puts this. Watch the way you talk, let nothing foul or dirty come out of your mouth. Say only what helps, each word a gift. What a great way of expressing how we communicate. We know we shouldn't swear, but the Bible talks specifically about using the Lord's name in vain. Why is God so bothered about his name? Well, of course, in the Old Testament, names were given that had particular meaning. So you can look at the name that's used to describe God, and that's Yahweh, and that's got lots of different meanings to it. I haven't got time to explore them all now in the video, but it's about creation, it's about the one who was and is and will always be, the one who organized and created the world and life itself, all in a name. My name means mighty warrior. That sounds pretty good, although sometimes, if I'm honest, I think it's more mighty warrior. No, mighty warrior. Names mean something, and God is jealous, that word again, about his name. Israel was supposed to be a kind of advert for how great and amazing God was. So anything that was done in his name or by his people was reflected on him. And God was profoundly cross, angry with the Israelites sometimes for the way that they behaved under his name. Here's a bit of a thought. We are Christians. We are also known by God's name. So is there another way that we can take the Lord's name in vain? If you see a sign like this, you know what to expect. You know there's going to be language on there that could offend. You make a choice about whether you buy the product or not. For us, we represent God. We are his people, called to show people what he is like. And that means that our language and the way that we conduct ourselves should reflect who God is. We are Christians. We're supposed to be Christ-like. But if we take on the name of God, but we don't live the way that Jesus called us to live, we're kind of taking the Lord's name in vain. We're not living a life that really shows who God is, what he's done, and what he's like. What are you doing? Use your eyes when you cross the road, not the force. You might recognize this image. It's a car sticker. You can get car stickers about just about anything. This particular one, obviously, is for us to show that we are Christians. Here's the thing. If I stick this in the back of my car and I drive like an idiot, am I therefore really taking God's name in vain? Am I really showing people who God is if I drive angry, if I shout at people in the middle of the road, if I say that other drivers got their driver's license in a Christmas cracker, or whatever? Am I really showing who God is? Or am I taking God's name in vain? And what about this one? If I'm embarrassed to tell people that I'm a Christian at school, at work, whatever, if I'm embarrassed to stand up for what God wants me to stand up for, what am I doing with God's name? Have I taken it in vain? God's name is powerful. God's name is to be treated reverently. There are loads of scriptures in the Bible that talk about calling out on God's name. The name of the Lord will save you. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. There's loads of scriptures about it. We're going to look at some in the Zoom meeting this evening. But here's the thing. God's name is supernatural. God's name is powerful. And God's name needs to be used properly. I don't know about you, but I'm quite frequently in environments where I hear people swearing and using God's name inappropriately. And it hurts my feelings, it upsets me, particularly to hear God's name being used inappropriately. But here's the thing, I remember that to these people, that name doesn't mean anything. That name isn't important to them. One of the things that God wants me to do is to show them who that person is. I find swearing a bit puzzling. I guess I swore before I became a Christian. When I became a Christian, I didn't struggle to give up swearing, to be honest with you. It just wasn't a big deal for me. But now I look at swearing and it kind of puzzles me a bit. You know, you listen to your friends talk and they use some of the worst words in the English language to describe an everyday event, walking to the shops with their friends or something like that. They've used the worst words they can think of even to describe their friends, and they laugh while they say it. You know, those words to them don't have power, and they maybe don't have some of the meaning that we might think they do. When something bad happens to them, they've already used the worst words of the English language to describe nothing. So I don't know what they do if they drop a hammer on their toe or something. We're not called to be like that. We're to show that God's name actually does have meaning, does have power, and does have authority. If we're not showing that in our lives, we're taking the Lord's name in vain.